Good morning, everybody. It is me, Ricky Locke, and today we are coming live for the Unlocked podcast. It is lovely to see you. Today is a little bit different to your standard podcast because we are live across the internet. We are live on Facebook and YouTube, not LinkedIn because LinkedIn hasn't approved me yet, unfortunately. But welcome to the show. If you are watching this, then please put a little comment in the box on the Facebook page or the YouTube, and we will answer that. If you have any questions as well for my guest, who I will reveal in a second, we will answer that as well for you. But welcome to the podcast live. If you've never joined the podcast, then this is the Unlock podcast, which is me. It's called the Ricky Locke podcast, and I help business owners, small business owners, solopreneurs to create success in their business. And I hope you're going to enjoy this because we have a really, really great guest, and I'm going to bring him on in just a second. But I think you'll have a lot of fun with this. It's going to be a really, really great episode. So I'm going to bring him in, and this is a good friend of mine. Welcome to the show, Scott Leiper. Hi, Scott. How are you?
I'm really good. Thank you. Thank you very much for having me.
Not a problem at all. Yeah, great to see you, and appreciate. I know that we said that we were going to do this a long while ago, and it's took me a long while to actually get this on board. So I appreciate that. Yeah, you're actually on board. So thank you very much. Lovely to see you. How are you? How was your weekend?
It was great. Thanks. Yeah, I got through my post-it note pile that's been stacking up last week, and had a pretty good weekend. I finished the weekend by painting a wall grey, so I don't know if that's a metaphor. Hopefully not for the rest of the week.
Yeah, the fingers crossed.
And just before you invited me on this morning, I got an email right above yours from another Ricky who said that I could leverage my home and get zero balance in 5 years. So I don't know if it's this Ricky or the other Ricky that was emailing me.
Well, who knows? Maybe that's another sideline that I've not told anyone about. Yeah,
you can do that as well, please.
Well, I am a magician, so who knows? Maybe I can save you some money, can't I? But yeah, welcome to the show, Scott. It is great to see you. I'm really looking forward to this because I know we've only just met this year, probably back in, I think it was May or June, sometime in the summer. But you have a wonderful story to share about how you've come into light of where you are right now, and you're involved in lots of different pies with lots of kindness, lots of amazing learning development, and also about customer experience, which is why I wanted to chat to you about this. But I think for everybody listening, Scott, tell everyone, who are you and what do you do?
Thank you, Ricky. Okay, so I use three words normally to describe what I do. The first one I normally use is creator. And normally when I'm working in a leadership or a management or an HR space and people introduce me to events as a creator, there's kind of raised eyebrow to say, what does that actually mean?
Yeah.
And it's because I spend a lot of time creating events and combining it with the skill of curation. But I create a lot of programs and events and experiences and products for businesses. So I do that a lot of my time. The other thing that I do is probably a bit of a baker. I like to bake things lots, but I actually weave that into the way in which you do business. Because as you know, and you said very kindly in your introduction, that kindness is a big aspect in a lot of the stuff that I do as well. So I make that part of my business. I make a lot of things for people as well as create a lot of things for people. And then the third word is probably randomator. Not just because it trips off the tongue nicely with baker and creator, but I think there's a lot of randomness. And I was chatting to a guy last week who's somebody I've admired their work for many years, and I finally got a chance to have a conversation with him, David Perrell. And he used a lovely phrase to describe me that I'd never described myself as. He says, you've got etchy creativity. And I thought
etchy creativity.
And that actually fits really well into the way that I describe myself as being a randomator, that I like to do lots of different things, and I constantly get ideas sparking off about new things that I can do that I think can ultimately make learning and development more powerful, and ultimately hopefully make the world of work a happier place in the way in which you work. So I love that description. So I think for all future things that I go with etchy creativity because I love it.
You have to stick that under the LinkedIn or under a business card, wouldn't you? Yeah, great.
Really good. So that's the kind of stuff that I do every day, really.
That's great. Yeah, I think one of the things that we'll dive into is this. So for anybody watching, you'll be able to see this. But for listeners who are listening to the podcast when this goes out, this is an amazing product here. And you'll notice that it goes quite well with myself because you'll see it says 52 if I zoom in closer. But it's shaped like a deck of cards, and practically is a deck of cards, but it's a very special pack of cards. Scott, for the listeners, what is Cognitize? What is this?
Okay, so Cognitize is 52 cards of limitless learning. But I'd noticed that a lot of card-based products that have a lifespan, that you use them a few times and then you might get a little bit tired of some of the images or not find another use for them. So in a box of Cognitize cards, you've got 6 themes that exist in there, and every single one of those themes are about a different theme of learning development. But in each of the cards, there's a 4-point structure. There's a learn, there's a share, there's a grow, and there's a repeat. And in every single card, there's a learning activity that you would do with someone else. There's a share aspect of giving that card away as a gift to someone else. There's a growth aspect of it that you can grow and others can grow from that. And there's a repeat cycle that you do that as many times as you can with as many people as you can. So the whole aspect of Cognitize is sharing our learning, all powered by kindness. That every single one of those stories should grow and grow and grow. And it's a card system that allows people to learn and to grow by sharing stories. And that's what I wanted to do with it when I started off, was to try and create and collect and curate as many stories as I could from different people who had many stories. And you did a brilliant story yourself, Ricky, around if I could tell you one of the cards. But basically every one of the cards is structured in that same way, that you have a learn, a share, a grow, and a repeat. And then basically you give those cards away. And hopefully when you give those cards away to people, that they can learn from the experience that you've had, and there's a benefit from you in that you get to share your story, and it stops that learning from kind of turning to stone. It stops that kind of exponential learning loss, if you like. It stops people losing the learning they had, and it allows them to share it forward. So you get a benefit because you're sharing an experience that you've had, and it cements your learning experience, and they get a benefit because they're getting something they hadn't heard before. So I created those, almost 12 months ago now, this week actually. Anniversary's on Friday this week that we did it.
Oh, wow.
And the whole idea of those cards is to let them loose in the world and let them grow organically. They're not my babies, they're other people's now. And to go out and grow. And my job within it now is to keep creating as many videos as we can for the content, because as you saw, I'll show you a bigger version for those watching, because it's a lot easier to see in a bigger scale, but these are oversized ones. If you scan the little QR code there, basically that takes you to a website that shows you videos based on the subject of this card. So if the learning experience here is give someone this card and tell them what you love about their approach to work, the share is to physically give them that card, physically or digitally. And the grow aspect is when you scan that little QR code, a video will come up with different people who have shared their stories about how they've used that card or what they could share with you. So we've got speakers, magicians, entertainers, DJs, leadership experts, chief executives of organizations, coaches, all different people sharing stories on there. And we've been going for 12 months now with this process, and we've just hit the 120 mark. That we've got 120 stories in the entire set from different people as well. They can only be accessed by you finding a card or by you giving a card to someone else. So that's pretty much how Cognitize works.
It's a fascinating concept, and I remember that I think one of the first cards that I was introduced to was Matt Callahan's with the 10 for good, which was just a beautiful idea of leaving £10 for someone, and they would then have to go do some kindness with that, which is just a wonderful thing, isn't it? And I think until I'd experienced it in the rounds of where I used to work, a lot of the listeners will know that I used to be a national trainer, and we'd often have conversations where you'd have like descriptive cards ready to start a conversation. But I just think this adds such a fun element to it, and there's loads of different themes, but it just creates such a wonderful conversation. And the fact that you can have the QR code to go watch a listener, is amazing, isn't it? And I'm absolutely honored that you even asked me. At first I was like, why on earth would Scott want me? And this was my card, I think, if I could tell you one thing, which is a really funny story about me turning 4 hours late for a wedding and nearly shitting myself. So I'll have to edit that one out on the podcast. But I think it's just a genius thing. And, not only do you obviously have the cards, but you also do Cognitize Connect as well. So what is the Connect sessions that you do?
So the Connect sessions were at first a little bit of a response to lockdowns actually here in the UK. So our initial plan, my initial plan, and Rory, who helps me to Imagine Honesty, our initial plan was to have a series of live events throughout the country and basically travelling around bringing speakers from those different parts of the country into the room, and you're really curating a great event for people in evenings. And we did our first launch session in Belfast, and then we held one in Glasgow, and then the world got hit by COVID, and we went, well, we can't really do live events now, so how are we going to do it? But there were such unique and special events, because I had really, really carefully considered who the speakers were, and you highlighted Matt there. We had Matt doing a live broadcast from the Belfast launch. And I wanted to make sure that when we did something virtually, that it felt like a really bespoke experience for people, and it wasn't just a 1 hour Zoom call with people pop up on screen. So the Cognitize Connect session was 1 hour with 2 speakers, 1 host, and limitless conversations. That we wanted to make sure that it wasn't just speakers, but they were really interactive. So the connectors took place every 2 weeks during lockdown, and gradually built a community of an audience. Because when you develop a product as well, it's ultimately your village that you build around it, and your fans that follow it, that help you to push the product out there. Really, it's not like a retail product where you put it on a shelf. So it was important to really build that community behind it and trying to do something with it. So the Connect sessions were a way of doing that. They were able to bring the speakers from the cards into the room and allow them to tell their stories to those audiences as well in a longer time scale, because on the cards, each of the stories are about 3 to 5 minutes long, whereas the live events are about 15 minutes long. So it gives them a good chance to actually tell an expanded version or a 3D version of those stories, and also use the breakout rooms for participants to have a conversation powered by those cards as well. So if we took a card like Random Acts of Kindness, like this one here, going into the breakout room and having conversations with people of what you've done in your local community or in your workplace to generate random acts of kindness. Or if we took a story about stretching yourself, what have you done to stretch yourself in the last few weeks? Or if we talked about the gift of greatness, about people giving a gift to other people to show them why they think they're great, or superpowers, about trying to identify people's superpowers are, which are all individual cards. It's in the breakout space, having people share those conversations builds the same thing that's at the heart of the product, which is you again getting the benefit because you're sharing your experiences and cementing your own learning, and they get the benefit because they're hearing something new that can go off the call and go, well, I hadn't thought of that.
Yeah.
Go and do that now as well. So that's what the Connect sessions were all about. We've got our next one coming up next Tuesday, actually, which is our 2-hour Christmas special. And it's going to be a very festive experience, the way that we've also curated that as well. So that's what the Connect sessions are really all about. It's absolutely freezing in my office, by the way. I put the heat up. I can feel that my teeth almost going now.
Yeah. Well, it's just Scotland, isn't it? Scotland's cold anyway, though, isn't it?
I had that card up there and I'm like, that.
Well, I've got to say, the one of the podcast episodes, so I think episode 4, was responsible. I found them because of Connect, which was Osman Sharif, which was about the superpower. Yeah. And by going into the waiting room and discussing about what is your superpower, and then hearing Osman's story made me just think, oh my God, that's amazing. But I find it fascinating that you've been able to, I hate saying that word pivot. I think everyone's bloody pivoting, aren't they, this year? But you found a way to still provide that limitless conversation in a way that is still engaging, it's interactive, it's fun, and you leave with a message. I remember each time at the end of every Connect session that I'll be walking away with some peace of mind or some reassurance that others are feeling the same way as me, and also a simple action to go send a card to someone, which is a very thought-provoking session and very powerful. That's not it's a very powerful thing that you guys are doing. And I guess for the next year, fingers crossed with whatever happens with the events industry, are you going to plan to do more live events and things like that?
Yes. However, we've also got some really cool stuff that we're going to reveal on the first about the virtual space that we're creating for it as well, because Zoom has been an absolute lifesaver for many businesses in terms of how they've used it to deliver training, as is Teams and WebEx and our platforms that people are using. But I think there's other ways that we can make that even better, actually, for people to have that experience that you very kindly said there about the takeaways from it, and you feel like you're part of something. I think we can really push that a lot more within a virtual space. But I'm really also like anyone else missing face-to-face contact with people, and I can remember the last session we did was the first week in March, face-to-face.
Wow.
Being in the room with we had 50 people that evening in the room, and I walked out the room at the end of it and went to the bar, and the bar actually had Leiper Lager on tap. I don't know if that was a sign that it was the end of
right.
it. But I remember at the bar after it and thinking, what a wonderful night that was, actually, with what we'd managed to cram into a 2-hour evening, a 2.5-hour evening with different speakers. And Osman was one of our speakers that evening as well, actually. But what we created for it as well. So I'd love to absolutely do more of those. But I think, like anything else, when you do them, they have to be still quite special and unique, that you're bringing the right people together in that space for it to exist in the right way and not be, well, they're available, so we'll put that in there. Like somebody, for example, I think could be the right speaker for the wrong audience.
Yeah,
You need to really think about that. So in Glasgow, we had Kirsty Mack, we had Osman Sharif there, we had Adam Moore there, we had myself there as well hosting. But all those people we had in that space, we had Emir Stassen, but we had all those people there for different reasons. We had Kirsty there because, as you know, Kirsty, she's always got so much sunshine and optimism and powerful insight by what she talks about. We had Osman there because he could give, some really great content that was also really applicable that people could go and do straight away. Because again, he's very insightful the way he talks about mindset. We had Emma there to really relax people because she's got a really soulful voice. And we had Adam there to actually really entertain people because he's a performance actor. So again, building those 4 things together were really important. So whatever I do in the next 12 months ahead, I have to invest that lot of time and actually make sure you've got the right lineup every single time. And I liken it to when somebody puts together a festival or when a band records an album. They don't just put the songs in any order. They think about the order by which the listener's going to hear them.
Yeah, true.
So if you thought about some of the best albums ever recorded and some of the albums that are really, that you always listen to them start to finish because of the order that they're in. Because from the entire, those concept albums like Sgt. Pepper's and things like that, and Part Life by Blur, they're all done in a certain order.
Yeah.
You couldn't listen to them in any other order. And when you listen to that song, you know exactly what song comes next because of the rhythm put into it. And that's that's what's influenced me to do live events and to do digital events, is the way that those brilliant bands have created those brilliant albums. Is to put that when you do events as well, you do it in the same way.
Well, it's like the encores, isn't it? They play their best song last, to build up the suspension rather than, we're just going to come out and do the great song that we've got and then we're going to go home. You want to have that experience, don't you, that you're creating. It's funny actually now, because looking above your head and seeing all the different colors, you reminded me of insights and profiling. I know Osman has his own kind of profiling as well, but it's interesting, isn't it, that you have created something that is fit for everyone. You've got a little bit of, like Osman just giving the mindset training. You've got Kirsty with the passion and the energy, and you've got the lady that you said has a real soothing energy. So you've got something that's going to appeal to everyone, which is a really cool way of doing that.
Yeah. And it's really deliberate that every Connect session that we've done, this is our 10th one we've done now, the curation of it is so important that we get the right order. It's even like who goes first and who goes second. But we've got 2 speakers at every Connect session, but I'm really adamant of having the right order of the right person for what atmosphere you're going to create. So somebody's going to tell you a really powerful story that's going to move you emotionally, is going to bring tears to your face. I want that to be at the start to really hook you in.
Yeah.
I want people to leave with a bit of sunshine and a bit of power of what they can do next.
Yeah.
It's go. It depends what. At the same time, you might want to do something that ends on that emotional journey, but you've got to be prepared to let the audience leave with that emotional state. And I think
definitely
what you do when you're creating these events is you don't just think, well, we've got 2 people, who wants to go first?
Yeah.
About the order of what you're trying to create in the room and what atmosphere you're trying to create. And that's when, for me, the best digital experience happens, when somebody actually reaches through the screen and does something rather than actually just talks at you. I think it makes a difference.
Which you did really well at Kindfest. I can't remember the one that I attended, but you had Matt there. You had loads of speakers. I think Kirsty finished it up as well. And it was just a wonderful thing where I remember there was people in tears just from the story. And I think that's fascinating when you think about an experience where yes, I know that we love belonging, we love to be part of things and to see people in person, but to feel emotionally connected 300 miles away or wherever that is by sitting in my office through a laptop and a microphone, what a powerful way, or what a powerful thing that is, like to connect to people to emotionally and to make them think of a feeling or stir some thoughts. That's just an incredible thing. So yeah, what a powerful thing. I think that's a great move there to thinking about KindFest. So for everyone that's never heard of KindFest, tell us about that and how did that come across? Because it's not just yourself that obviously runs that, but how did that start?
So it started in late July, early August, that I had been introduced to a brilliant lady called Jo Savannah, who runs a kindness movement called Be the Ripple. And she had noticed some of the stuff I've been doing around Connect, actually, Cognitize Connect, because in all the advertising we used for Cognitize Connect is we had, one host, two speakers, limitless conversations, all powered by kindness was the language we used on it, because it was about sharing and giving that stuff away for free, obviously, that we were doing. And she noticed that on social media, and she reached out to myself and Rory and said, I run a kindness movement called Be the Ripple, and Jo and I formed a great friendship over the summer and the winter months now as well. But she told me a story, and a story just blew the socks off me. And I said, right, one, I'd like you to do a story for Cognitize, because I need other people to hear your story, because it's not just your story, it's other people's stories, which she absolutely agreed with. And that's what she does with a brilliant venture in Be the Ripple. And then I invited her on to Cognitize Connect to tell her story live. And she told me her story about Be the Ripple, but she didn't tell me her personal story about bullying and about unkindness, because I wanted to hear it live like the rest of the audience. And then she told me her story about her own example of bullying and unkindness. And like you said there about KindFest, we had audience members at Cognitize Connect that week in tears because it was such a powerful story.
Yeah.
And also so proud of her and so uplifted by the end of the story about what you can actually do about this when you experience it. So I came off the call, I thanked her a lot. We hung back for about 5 minutes and had a chat after it. And then I was sitting in my office kind of a few days later, and I'm sitting thinking about what can I do? Because it's almost the thing that always... in that kind of itchy creativity space that I said earlier, that I always think, well, if you see a problem, try and do something about it. Yeah. You always say that, why doesn't someone do something about that? I'm always like, well, you're probably that someone that could, if you just kind of do something about it. And I don't tend to sit on things and just go, well, I'll maybe get back to it. I just try and go and do something. So that card that I picked up 10 minutes ago, this Tag You It card, is about playing random acts of kindness with someone else and handing this card when you do so. So it's about playing random act of kindness tag. So I contacted Jo again, because we'd arranged to pick up again after it. And I said, I've got an idea I'd like to share with you. I said, since I started consulting 13 years ago, because a lot of my consultancy stuff's really creative, I've always wanted to create a festival of learning. But not like a festival of learning where it's like a massive networking event, or you go into a large conference hall, something that really does feel like a music festival, that it's fun, it's engaging, it's entertaining, it's light, it's intense, it's dark, it's moving, it's got every emotion going in it, because the best festivals I've been at, you've got so many styles of music, you get so much entertainment, you've got like Glastonbury, they used to have these political stages and comedy stages and entertainment stages and all these different things going on. I said, I'd love to create that in a virtual space somehow, but make the focus of it kindness. I said, I think I've found the platform to do it. And at this point in time, Kirsty and I had been experimenting with Remo, that you know about now. And I said, I think I've got the right platform, we can host it on as well. And Jo said to me, right, okay, so why don't we do it? So a bit like my sentence there of, we could be the ones that do something about this rather than just waiting for somebody to do it. So why don't we do it? Right, let's do it. So we sat that afternoon. We wrote down a list of people that we felt that amplified kindness as speakers and as hosts. We put them all down a list. We contacted them all that afternoon. We had the lineup confirmed 48 hours later. We had the tickets on sale by the Saturday morning. That was the Thursday afternoon. We had cleared 30 tickets by the Monday morning. And 5 weeks later, we had raised almost £3,000 for charity and had people in that space celebrating an education of workplace kindness. And the ripples that were created from that. We also had Sophie Ellis-Bextor, who did a video for us.
In her kitchen, wasn't it? Yeah.
She donated a song to us. I made cakes for Sophie Ellis-Bextor, so I now have that claim to fame that I've made chocolate muffins for her kid. And she was just absolutely fabulous. But it came out of that card, just sitting at my desk and going, random act of kindness. What's the biggest random act of kindness tag that I could do? I could say, why don't we have a kindness festival? Why don't you join me? Why don't we try and get other people involved in it and see how many ripples we could actually create through other people? So Remo's a very different platform to what Zoom or Teams are. When you arrive in the space, it's more like a bird's eye view of a floor plan, and you double click on the table that you want to sit at, and then you chat to other people at that table, and your video screen comes on. Then if you see another table with another conversation going on, like a networking event, you would click on that table and move there. So it fitted perfectly for a festival space. And then the presenting mode is the main speaker comes onto the big screen and you only see them and nobody else. So it worked perfectly. We've got our next event on the 11th of December, which is Kindfest USA, because somebody in the US approached us about doing something similar. And
let's not beat around the bush here. That is amazing, Scott, that it's now been picked up in the USA just from an idea, a ripple. And that ripple's gone big. Yeah.
He said, I'd love to do something similar here. Could you help us with it? And we went, absolutely. So
it's an amazing achievement. Well done.
I'll tell you straight away, that's not until 11th of December, and we've only just started posting about it, and we've already raised $7,000.
That's amazing. Yeah.
For 2 charities. And again, that's something that is really important to emphasize here, that all those events and all those people that contribute to them, my time, anyone else's time that does it, they all do it through kindness. Nobody earns anything through it apart from a gesture of kindness. That those 2 charities get the benefit from it, and probably even bigger is the stories that flow from it. I was getting messages 3 weeks later from people on LinkedIn. Just 3 weeks after a digital event, people were still messaging me and saying how much this changed this or how much this did this.
Yeah.
And I thought, wow, it's 3 weeks down the line and people are still posting about it on social media.
Yeah. It's so powerful, Scott, though. You know, like I think, like I mentioned, it had a, it touched me, the stories that I heard on that day. You know, I'm a massive fan of Kirsty anyway. And every time I hear her, I just find like, I just feel captivated by, like what Kirsty talks about. Even though I've heard her talk thousands of times now, every time she speaks, she always connects to me and touches me in a way that makes me think about, I need to do something different or look at something in a different light. And I think with what you've able to done, you've created a huge movement, you know, just from a simple idea, I'd like to do something. And now you're creating the USA Kindfest. So this could be a worldwide phenomena, you know, of just being kind. And I think that it's relative to a lot of people through this year, especially because you think about going back into April when we had the first lockdown. What did everybody do? They went to the supermarket and just bought shitloads of toilet roll for themselves. Yeah, fight and crash, right? It was embarrassing, wasn't it, right? To be a human, I think at that point, to see, oh my God, what are we doing? And I think then people started to reflect and think, oh yeah, maybe we shouldn't have done that. I mean, I'm not saying I didn't do that at all, but it's embarrassing to see that. But I think now people are really starting to think, well, maybe this was a bit more serious than we thought. The global pandemic is a little bit more dangerous than what we thought. I mean, even myself, I thought by the summer we'd be out of it. You know, I didn't think that by 23rd of November, when we record this, that we'd still be at this point. But we do need to be a bit more kinder. You know, I think that we forgot that. I think a lot of people just went within themselves to look after themselves. You know, it's that freeze, fight, and flight moment, isn't it? Everybody went into defensive mode, survival mode. And then people started to think, oh, actually, do you know what? There's other people out there that's probably worse than me, and we need to do this. And what you've able to create is this, you've said it loads of times, is an experience. You know, it's not just this event. It's an experience that you can walk in, you can feel something, you can take something away, and you can feel empowered to go create a ripple. And I've got to say this to you, Scott, I certainly felt it from the last one that I went with you guys, which was where Matt was obviously talking about the We Create Kindness. I started, and I've talked about this in one of my recent podcasts, about sending voice memos and little videos on Instagram. So I will send a little video to someone just telling them how great they are, and thank you for following my page, or thank you for supporting me. I really appreciate it. You are awesome. Keep it going. I love what you do. And that's such a nice little surprise. And it's nothing that's cost me anything. The only thing it costs me is my time, which is nothing. Come on, let's face it. We're all sitting there, aren't we, at our Zooms and stuff like that. But by me just saying to them, can I just say, Scott, that you're awesome. I love what you're doing. Thanks for supporting me. Keep up the great work. And when you receive that little message, that just makes you go, oh my God, wow. I think at this time, everyone feels a little bit, are we on the right path? Are we on the right track? I need some reassurance, and just having that kindness fest, it's brilliant. Oh, we've actually got, hi, Paul. Nice to see you as well. We've also got Chris. Chris just said, love your little Instagram vids. There you go. So thanks, Chris. That's one of the videos I sent to Chris, actually. But Scott, I love that. I think it's a massively powerful thing. So I'm guessing I'd like to ask you, it might be early now, but what's the plans for KindFest? What's the next big thing? I mean, USA, come on, that's pretty huge anyway. Yeah. So what's next from that?
The lineup for the USA one. I mean, some of the speakers that we've managed to secure, because obviously I'm in Scotland, right? So my marketplace isn't predominantly US. I know a few people, not massive amounts. So the two ladies who invited us to do the US one, and between Joe and I, we've been really building our network and trying to get the right speakers there. So the first point is the immediate future is the 11th of December one. We need to get more people there. We need to get more people sharing it, and we need people to come and see the brilliant lineup that we've got arranged, because we've brought our 4 speakers we had back from the UK one again to do the second one, but we've made it a little longer, and we'll put a lineup of more speakers. So there's going to be between 8 and 10 live speakers at the event. Again, going back to the curation point, I think it's important to have a really important, diverse range of speakers that really do talk about kindness in lots of different ways, and that's really representative of this space that we're working in as well. So, be that a balance of who's speaking or what they're speaking about is really important. We've managed to secure people who are 2 times TEDx speakers and things to do stuff for us. We just sent them a message and said, "This is KindFest. This is what it is about. And this is the aim." And they went, "Sign me up, no problem." Yeah.
Wow.
Do you know? So we're actually starting to get people come to us and say, "I'd love to."
Yeah,
I'd love to do that. And after us sending a message, that it's almost like one message. Do you think about messaging somebody on Twitter and saying, "Hi, I'm Joe Savannah, I'm Scott Leiper, this is what KindFest's about, would you be up for it?" And like 4 hours later, you go, "Yeah, no problem."
Yeah.
This is a really compassionate currency to trade in when people
want
involved in things. Beyond that, we've got something planned for February this year. So I was doing a thing I do every Friday through Cognitize is High Five. So we do a kind of 5 to 15 minute interview with people to talk about the last 5 days of learning, powered by one of the Cognitize cards. And we were.
Oh yeah, I think you had Sarah Rudder. Didn't you do 5 days of learning with Sarah Rudder? Yeah, I saw that. Yeah, great video.
She was fabulous. And they nominate somebody the next week. So when we had Gavin Oates on talking about his card, Gavin left a book in a park bench in Edinburgh with one of our mobile library cards inside it to give the book as a gift for the next person. So the idea of the card is you pick your favourite self-development book, then you leave it in a random place for a stranger to find. And he did that.
Amazing.
And at the end of it, he nominated Andy Cope, who is the Doctor of Happiness and an all-round super dude. You probably get one of Andy's books in there somewhere. There you go.
Yes, I love this book. Great, absolutely amazing book. Yeah.
We interviewed Andy a few weeks ago. And the podcast, Andy raised the challenge to me, or to Rory and I rather, and I took the challenge up. So Andy doesn't know about this yet.
Okay. So this is live, Scott. So be careful if you're not supposed to say it.
That he did something last year where it was to see how many random acts of kindness he could get in one city in one day. And I'm sure he said at the time the world record was held by Bristol. And his home city of Derby decided that they could beat that, and they had over 25,000 random acts of kindness in one single day. He says, "So I'll hand the baton to you guys to see if you can beat it." So he's given me a challenge to beat a kindness score, and I'm going to go.
Oh, yes.
So we've done 2 things. We've tried to register with world, do you know you have that site in the US where you can register national days? We've tried to register Random Act of Kindness Day for February next year. I think off the top of my head, it's February the 23rd. We've chosen a random day in the calendar because we think that every day should be a kindness day, and we're not picking any date for any particular reason.
Yeah.
Obviously, if it clashes with National Donut Day, then that's going to be an issue.
Yeah.
But what we're going to try to do is, I've been watching a lot of news at the moment, and I try not to doom scroll because it's not good for your mental health. But one news channel in particular, and CNN, the US, they've always got this heat map of the infection rates of COVID across the US, and it's darker red the worse the rates are. And it's a horrible, horrible image to look at.
Yeah.
And I thought, what if we had a world map and we lit it with yellow, with sunshine and optimism and kindness? Yeah. The brighter yellow, the more kindness there was about the things happening. So our next this in February this year, when we get the date finalised, is we're going to see how many random acts of kindness across the world that we can actually generate across the entire world in one single day. So Derby's at 24,000. Let's say that Nottingham gets 26,000. I've just created some controversy in Nottingham and Derby, and they're bordering with each other. That's a really dangerous and then Glasgow gets 30,000, and then, you know, Los Angeles gets 2.1 million, and it just grows and grows and grows in one single day. But then we push it beyond that one single day. Single day. So I think it's going to be something quite special, actually.
I'm getting excited just listening to it. I think it sounds amazing. Yeah.
That was through Andy's challenge that he said, could you beat that in one city? And I went, well, we could beat it in lots of cities, but let's try and tie it into one big movement on one day. So we're going to call it Kindathon. I'm going to do it on one single day and see how many acts of kindness that we can get across the world on one single day. The difference it makes to the world, and let's see that heat map. So where we're at the moment is trying to get the right company to do the IT side of it. We think it'll probably be powered by a hashtag that we can use that hashtag, it lights up the map, and that's the way that we'll do it. But you're the first was about that, Ricky, so you get exclusive.
Exclusive to the podcast listeners there, the Kindathon. That's amazing, Scott. I think that's amazing. I started to think like there back in my corporate days, like thinking we should have had like a KPI for kindness. Like, why do we ever bloody do that? You know, some sales.
The reason I think we don't do it is because most commercial entities are competing to beat other commercial entities. Sometimes they want to be better, and I think
turn into a process.
Yeah, and kindness is the opposite of that. Actually, the more that you collaborate, the better it is, rather than compete. And I think, saying about LA getting 1.2 million and Nottingham getting 28,000, actually, together creates something great. So I don't 100%. Think it's a competitive space. It should be a collaborative space. That the more you do, the more benefit there is for others as well. So I wonder sometimes whether if we built kindness into a commercial entity, has had it as one of our values of ways of working, somebody would try to measure how much kinder they are than somebody else, rather than just saying, well, actually, if they're better than us, it doesn't matter because they're still doing something that's really important to people.
100%. And I've just got to share some love here. You've got some great comments coming up here. So we've got Alan from Yellow Tuxedo. So Alan, actually, thank you for watching this. He inspired me to start the StreamYard podcast. So this was your idea. So thanks very much, buddy. Alan's from a great company, Scott, called the Yellow Tuxedo. They did a series over the last 7 weeks called Yellow Magic Hour, where they talked about brand communication, and I got involved. Alan, thank you for your comment. Loving watching and listening to this. And you've also got Chris Mooney Learning, who was on the last week's episode or 2 weeks ago, Chris Mooney, and he says, what an amazing idea. I'll share this with you, Scott. It's not probably to the extent of creating a huge ripple, but one of the things that I talk about is customer experience. And I always laugh about the idea of customer service versus customer experience, where service we talk about, hello, thank you, that's service, goodbye, you know, but the experience is what you feel after that. And I witnessed an amazing experience in Morrison's. So hashtag Morrison's, everyone. Love Morrison's breakfast. We went to Morrison's breakfast, and there was this guy probably young guy, probably in his 20s, and I get really, I'm those OCD anal guys. I shouldn't say that word, but I am the person that Danielle hates when she's with me, because I watch service and I watch experience, and I'm always commenting in my head thinking that's terrible, you know. But anyway, so we watched this, and I just saw this guy who was great. He was sweating, he was really working really hard, and there was this old lady in front, and she was quite slow, bless her, but he just, you know, he took it in time. He was chipper with her, he was commenting, he was making her smile and making her laugh. He gave her a lovely compliment, and it was just no pressure. You know, his staff was tapping on the shoulder saying they need some help, and he just spent all of his time making sure that she felt great. And even to us after, he was the same consistent level of great customer experience that I thought, you know what, I felt so empowered by it that I'm going to go buy him a chocolate bar. And I bought him a Yorkie bar. I hope he likes Yorkies. But I thought, you know what? No, this guy needs to know that he's doing a bloody good job, you know. So I got him this Yorkie bar, and Danielle was watching from the side, and I just said, oh, hey, hi there. I don't really know your name, but I just want to say that you're bloody excellent. And I think you deserve this. You know, I don't know if you like chocolate. You went, no, I like chocolate. Thank you so much. And he said, oh, thank you so much. You've really made my day. And you could see his face just light up. Clearly, he'd been working extremely hard. He was knackered. They were probably short-staffed because of the restrictions. But he deserved to know that. And that just simple act of kindness. I think the better way would have been if I'd have just dropped an envelope secretly for him with the chocolate bar in there. And I could have been this mystery, oh my God, mystery act of kindness. But I just thought, you know what, he's got to know about this. And I think that we should just do more things like that and tell people how great they are, you know, because we're in a tough world, aren't we? That let's go create some kindness. So I think, Scott, we need to get that out there. Once you've got the kind of fun out there, let us know, and let's get that out to the listeners. I think that'll be absolutely amazing. Oh, we got a message there from Chris. Got a call now, but we'll catch you later. Great chat, guys. Oh, thank you, Chris, for coming on. So Scott, we were going to talk about customer experience, but we've kind of gone off on the whole kindness route, which I think is absolutely amazing. But I think that this is a really, really suitable and relative topic right now, because we need to share more kindness with people. But you never, this was never, I guess, your plan, was it? You started from a different career that led into what you do now as a consultant. But tell us a little bit about your backstory of how you kind of got into delivering experiences. I think that's what we should title this episode: how to deliver an experience with Scott Leiper, because we've talked about this musical conference. But tell us about your backstory, Scott.
Sure. So my first job when I left school was a pool attendant.
A pool attendant?
A lifeguard.
Okay.
I was a really bad swimmer, and I just liked the whole idea and concept of working in sports. I kind of wanted to do sports coaching, but I wasn't quite serious enough at school to get the grades to go and do the degree to do it. So I thought another route through it would be go and do some kind of coaching. So I was doing basketball coaching on the side and football coaching on the side. So I was doing my qualifications and my badges to try and train up to be a coach. And then I took a job as a youth trainee back in the days, earning £25 a week or something, doing pool attendant thing. And then I realised that you had to be in the swimming pool at 7 o'clock in the morning doing 20 people. And at age kind of 17, 18, when you're still hungover from a Thursday night, and a Friday morning you go, it's probably not the best career choice for me. So I didn't stick it for very long, actually. But I kind of still had that sports bug about helping and coaching. And then I kind of fell into doing sports retail and selling sportswear and sports clothing, because I still had really interested in sport. But I realised really quickly that it wasn't actually the sport aspect I love. It was the people aspect within the sport. It was the coaching aspect. It was about the helping people aspect. And I didn't clearly have the maturity of years to recognise that when I'd first taken the first job as the pool attendant in the leisure centre. But I kind of realised really, really quickly when I started working in retail, it was actually about helping people to become what they wanted to be. It was the stuff that I was really good at and stuff that I really enjoyed doing. So I was in my early 20s and late teens. I was running concession stores and running 5 or 6 of them, and managing people twice my age. And as scary as that seemed, it was a great experience for me. It really was. And I think the right people I had around me at that point in time were really important, because they were always really great at giving young people the opportunity and always really tried to fight for the underdog and do things as well. And that gave me some really strong values in terms of the way in which that I still do things today. And I know it actually was a big part of Cognitize when I was creating it, that having that understanding of how a business works and how a product works was a big part of understanding that. And I didn't realize that when I first started working in retail. Just like your guy you gave the Yorkie to, I think you want to recognize what happens next.
Yes.
So when you give the Yorkie, when he walks away, you think about the service he gives someone next and what happens next by that brilliant experience. So you doing something brilliant for him. And I'd like to think for the rest of that day he's skipping down the aisle and Morrison's going, "Yay, that was great." And I think that's where my heart was when I first started retail. I think retail is a brilliant education for people. If 100%. Anyone, teenagers and their family are about to move to university and they're thinking of taking little part-time jobs, retail is a great space to learn, and it really is.
And I say this to loads of magicians as well, Scott, that if you want to learn how to interact and socialize with people, go get a job, especially in retail, because you learn how to treat the public with respect. And let's face it, I'm sure you are like me, where I've been called many swear words in the past, but you learn how to treat people with respect, definitely.
Yeah, and I learned so much in that space, and there are some. I mean, when I've created products as well, I build my own experience into it. Actually, the guy who's my mentor's in the Cognitize card is one of the characters on one of the cards. He's in there as a character.
Oh, on the back, is it this one?
No, he's not. No, so he's on there's a card called Os Kicker.
Right, yeah.
And the guy that's on it was my mentor when I first started working in retail. And there's a story on the card that I tell about him, about how he was great at giving young people an opportunity and the process that he used to do that, which was about observing what people do, kind of recording what good looks like, classifying that as a good standard, and then kind of educating people about how to do it differently and really working with them. And that's where the term OS came from, ORCE. And that stuck with me all the way through my career, is actually understanding what's happening in the space and trying to do something with it. And just as a small experience of that, like when we used to get new footwear into the store, like I'm like a trainer geek, right? I collect trainers. I've got like something like 64 pairs in the house, just I've never got enough space for. But it was never enough for me that people should just know what the shoe looks like. They had to understand what it felt like. So we used to I'll take my shoe off here to show this. We used to take a pair of shoes, and we asked, when the new shoes come in, we'd throw them to the person who worked in the shop floor. We'd ask them to put the shoe behind their back and tell us the brand, first of all, so we'd be able to find the logo on it. Then we used to tell them what the upper was made of, what the midsole and the outsole was made of, what size it was, what style it was, and then try and guess what colour it was. Now, guessing the colour might seem pretty impossible, but if you knew the shoe range well enough, you'd know how many colours it came on, so you'd have a choice of probably 4 colours. Probably a lot more difficult to do now when you get anthracite black and the colours you get now, but the whole principle of doing it was that people really understand the footwear. And what that meant from a customer experience point of view was when people come through the door of the shop, the staff that work with me could look at somebody's feet and say size 8.
Yes.
You didn't have to ask what size it would be, because they knew people's footwear inside out and they knew people's shoes and styles. And I think that's carried with me as a customer experience. Anything that I create now for customers or curate for customers, I'm always thinking about they're walking through my door and what kind of experience they're actually going to get, and what does that look like for them, what does it feel like for them. So I've never forgotten it.
Yeah.
Because they always, somebody said to me in retail many years ago that everything speaks. When you walk through the door of a retailer, everything speaks to you, to the music, the smell, the staff, the colour scheme, how bright it is, how tidy it is, how well presented it is. And I think whether we're doing virtual experiences or whether we're doing face-to-face experiences, and having been a part of a few of your shows when you're doing your brilliant magic as well, and your entertainment and your presentation of it, Ricky, everything speaks to your background, how you're presented, to how you converse with people, 100%. To how you feel at home, to your comedy. Everything speaks in those.
Comedy, it's a serious show, Scott. I don't know what you know about.
Everything does speak to it, though, that when people recommend you to another service, they don't recommend you because you're a magician, they recommend you because you're Ricky Lock.
You are so right. And I've shared this so many times on my podcast. People get fed up with it. And I love it. It's the Maya Angelou phrase. You know, people won't remember what you said. They won't remember what you did, but they will never forget how you made them feel. And my whole mantra in life is to create some sort of legacy that, you know, fingers crossed. But if I was to die, that sounds really morbid. Sorry. But whatever I did when I worked in retail, if I was to leave a team or leave a business, they would remember how I made them feel. So they might, you know, they'd forget all the times I was a shouty manager or anything like that. But it was all about the experience of how you make people feel. And I think that people should create a legacy. And you're absolutely right. I totally agree with you about the first impressions. And I love, I don't know if you've heard of Steve McDermott. He's a fantastic speaker. I'm going to try and get on the podcast at one point. And he talks about the 4-minute rule, which is that you have between 7 and 17 seconds to create a first impression. But if it's not a good first impression, you have up to 4 minutes to recover. So, for example, you might walk into a shop and there's dust or dirt on the floor and things like that. And you might think, oh, this is a really messy or dirty store. But you have then up to 4 minutes to recover that. So if the next person that you interact with is fantastic, like the guy with my Yorkie bar, it makes you forget that. But interestingly enough, I find that I do this quite a lot. And I don't know if people, listeners, do this as well, right? When you're walking into a shop, and let's say, so I just pick out Tesco's, and I'm not sponsored by Tesco's at all. But if I walk down an aisle in Tesco's, and let's say they've left a bit of cardboard on the floor from where they've unpacked the boxes or something like that, I'll pick it up and I'll go give it to a colleague and say, I found this on the floor. How many people walk past that piece of cardboard and just leave it? Now, I know that I don't work there, and some people might say that's not my responsibility, but I'm just doing something to add to that. You know, that it's not my job to do that, but I want to be a respectful human being. I want to be a kind human being, that I want to treat things with care. When we was in Argos, I used to get all of my colleagues to do the same. If you're walking out on the shop floor, pick that rubbish up. I don't care if it's dirty. Go get some gloves. You know, this is about the experience of how you make people feel. And I'll do that outside. You know, if I go to Tesco's later on, I'll pick that up, because it's not just that person's job. You know, this is about us being human beings here and treating people. And that's where that links to that experience, that we should look after people and treat them with respect and dignity, you know. You've got a couple of comments come up again. They're loving this chat, Scott. Agreed, retail is a great place to learn about treating customer and clients. Thank you, Alan, for sharing that. I find that you're absolutely right, Scott. I think that I don't regret anything about my life with retail. I think I never really knew where I wanted to go in life, but I think retail has certainly served me as a person, that I can understand how to treat people, basics, hellos, respect, you know, and it really makes you feel grateful as well. But to me, if I hadn't done that, I don't think I would be the magician or the performer that I am now. It sharpened up my skills in life to create an experience, you know.
I've kept all my work from retail days as well. So I used to do a lot of stuff at the back end in a retail experience to engage the staff. We used to have whiteboards in the back office, and there wasn't a lot of businesses, I don't think, doing this at this point in time. But we used to take the whiteboards and actually do entertainment on them every day. Like we do like posters and quotes and competitions and a whole lot of stuff. And that's all custom and practice there in retailers. You get it all the time, but we were a different person every day, the power of the pen, to go and create their own whiteboard to see what was happening in the store that day. So it wasn't me doing it, it was one staff doing it. So that what we know in 2020 about neuroscience tells us about people's autonomy and choice. You know, without knowing it, we were doing that. We were giving people the autonomy and choice to go and create something and do it. And it wasn't always perfect. I mean, sometimes some of the quotes were a bit offensive that people got. But they still did something that meant they had some choices over how the day was going to go and what it was like. Now, I totally agree with you that there's nothing that frustrates me more when I walk into retail and they're pulling the vacuum round at 5:10 and the store doesn't close till 5:30. Money's worth less to you at 5:10 than it was at 9 o'clock. And you know, from what I've read, statistically, most thefts happen in the last half hour of retail's trading hours, which the teams are by they're not as focused on the customer during that time as they would be early parts of the morning. So stuff like that, I still, as a retailer at heart.
I've got two examples here, Scott, that is absolutely, and you'll know this if you've been in an Argos store many years ago. I used to tell my colleagues off for doing this when I was their manager. You know the browsers, the browsers, the laminated ones. This used to always happen years and years ago in Argos. It gets to about 5:20, and for some reason there was no really rule to do this, but everybody folds them back so that they're ready for the next morning, right? But what people would do is they walk past and go, poof, 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 and there'll be a customer still there and go, just so you know, we're closing in 10 minutes, and then they carry on going poof, poof. Now that tells you they don't want you in the shop. I'm closing up, I'm tidying up. And I've done this at wedding fairs as a magician. Now, wedding fairs can be really, really long days. You're on your feet. If a wedding fair is, for example, 11:30 to 2:30, you're not supposed to pack up until after. But sometimes you kind of know that it's the end about 2:15 because there's no one else coming in, right? I will not pack up until I'm obviously told by the organizer, or literally gone 2:30, because that moment, if someone just suddenly just arrives in because they're late, their car was, packing up or something like that, what does that experience mean to them when they see me packing up, taking off my tie, folding everything down? Or have you got a business card? Yeah, hang on, I'm just packing up. I'll get you one in a second. It doesn't show any interest in them at all. So I stand there like this, not like that, but, I'll stand there ready as if I've been there since 11:30 to 2:30, because that one person may be the booking that I need, or that they might want something from me and they'll connect. What does it mean when you see that packing up? Now, it's not all the case all the time, but it's really important, isn't it? We have to create that experience for people. We make people feel great, that they want to connect to us. Yeah.
I mean, I used to give the team control over the music system in the last 30 minutes, because most of the music was piped into us that we played, but we used to switch that off, and for the last 30 minutes try and keep the staff more engaged and more energized, give them choice of music that they could play their own stuff. Just give somebody different controls of the kind of DJing spot for the last 30 minutes. But it does. It makes such a difference if you've got people really engaged in that experience right to the very end. One thing we did just to do at past on the dot, actually, this was more for comedy value than anything. We used to always play Closing Time by Semisonic right at the
Closing. Yeah.
That was just more, people could see the comedy in it. It wasn't or boofing catalogues or the door in front of them. It was just a little gentle nudge at 5:30 when the light was closing, to let people know that we were going to start tidying up. But it would never be played at 15:15 to say, get out, you're huckled.
Yeah, get out. I want to go home. I've been here 10 hours. Yeah, absolutely. I think it's interesting, isn't it? And I think this is where it rings the bell now in terms of the COVID, that I personally believe this, and I felt this. Not everyone, this isn't a generalization, but I do feel that some businesses and some shops have just used the COVID as a process to tick a box, but not really deliver an experience. And I find we might have to do another podcast episode, Scott, about process versus the experience. I always find that some people get hung up on the process, and that limits them from delivering the experience. An example for me would thinking about in the past where elderly lady or elderly couple maybe needs something carrying out to their car. Oh no, Ricky, you're not allowed to. If you haven't got your high vis jacket, you can't go out there. For God's sakes, come on, they're old. Yeah, but you if you get in trouble, health and safety. I know, of course, legal complications. Yes, I know every business needs to do that, but come on, what's the right thing to do here? And I think some people forget that. What's the right thing to do? I think there's a phrase I used to have on my office. I think it was like managers do the right thing always, but leaders always do the right thing. And it was the difference between leading that service about, following process. And that's where it kind of comes full circle to the COVID thing, is that I'm experiencing just a tick box, not an experience. There is one guy in my local Tesco's that me and Danielle will specifically wait to be served by him because he's just wonderful. And so much so that now, obviously, with the restrictions, I know that you'll have a couple of colleagues that will direct you to go to a till because they want to make sure that there's not lots of people grouped round. We were there the other week, and one of the colleagues said, "Oh, do you want to come down to this till?" And we're like, no. Yeah. We want Martin. Because he makes us feel special. He makes us feel valued. He's an elderly colleague, but every time he gives us a little bit of witty banter, a joke, but he just makes us feel special. But not everybody does that. And I want to make sure that whenever I go shopping, I want to be served by him because of the experience that he makes me feel. Even if I'm just buying a pint of milk, he makes me feel special. And that's what I think we should all be doing, combined with kindness and delivering magical experiences, I think. But Scott, I'm going to absolutely say, I'm going to wrap it up to say a massive thank you for coming on. I usually keep these to about 30 to 40 minutes because I'm quite lazy, because it takes forever editing these podcasts. But we've gone on the longest podcast we've ever done. But I've really enjoyed it. And I appreciate that you've taken the time out, because I was late joining anyway. But Scott, I think it's really important to let everyone know, if they want to find out more about KindFest, about Connect, if they want to find out more about your business, where can people find you and how can they get hold of you?
So firstly, start with KindFest. So if you just go onto Eventbrite and you type in KindFest USA, you'll find tickets on there which are by donation only. So whether that's £1, $1, whatever you want to donate, you can get access to that event. It's a 2-stage event. So we're running 2 events on the one day with different speakers in each lineup, and that's on the 11th of December. For Cognitize, if you want to check out Cognitize, you just go to imaginosity.co.uk, which is MIAGINOcity.co.uk. in the middle, so you can't lose it. That shows you Cognitize the product and different ways you can buy it. If you want to come to one of our Connect sessions to learn more about it, our next one is next Tuesday on the 1st of December. So again, if you go on to Eventbrite and just type in Cognitize Connect, again, you'll find our session on there as well. Alternatively, you just check me out on LinkedIn. You'll see me posting about all these things regularly. There are only 2 Scott Leipers on LinkedIn. The other one doesn't look like this. And what else? Virtual Punks was the other thing I mentioned, which is
of course, yeah,
collaboration between Kirsty and I that we're doing, and we're hosting Christmas parties on Remo as well, and they're only £5 a ticket for a Christmas party, featuring Ricky Locke as a magician there, ladies and gents.
Yes, and comedians and virtual sleigh rides as well.
Yes, all that taking place, and that's on the 10th of December. And again, if you just type on Eventbrite Virtual Punks, you'll find ticket access to that event as well, where you can purchase your ticket for our Christmas party night as well, that you can get along to as well, which is going to be fabulous. So thanks again for having me, Ricky. I really appreciate it.
No, it's a real pleasure, Scott. And I think as well for the Virtual Punks this year, guys, for anyone out there, if you are listening to this on the replay, or if you're watching this on the replay, the Christmas party season this year may, who knows, with the vaccine next year, this may be the last year that we have virtual, who knows, I might be wrong, but virtual Christmas parties. And let's be honest, Christmas parties are not going to be probably happening in person this year. So the Virtual Punks is a really fantastic collaboration. I know I'm working with Kirsty and Kirsty and Scott, but Scott hasn't paid me to say this, but it is a fantastic concept. Remo's really great, really immersive, really interactive. So check it out. If you are looking for some sort of innovative and unique experience for your Christmas party this year, then check it out. Scott, you're an absolute pleasure to talk to. Thank you so much for coming on. For anyone else that's obviously still watching, thank you for sticking with us. Or if you are watching this on the replay, then put #replay in the comments. Obviously, this was a conversation for Unlocked, the podcast. This podcast is to inspire success in your business and to help you live the best version of your life. And we hope that we've inspired some of you today. So, Scott, thank you very much. I'm going to play the outro and stay on in the green room, and I'll talk to you at the end of this. But for everyone else, stay safe, and we will see you on the next episode of Unlocked. See you soon. Bye-bye.